How is everyone? Live again. Live from New Jersey. How is everyone? Ooh, get rid of that. Wanted to do a live stream on something that's important. How we sabotage our lives, career, personal, family, friends, across the board. Wanted to talk to you for a little bit about this. If you can hear me, let me know. Let me get a sound check, make sure I'm coming through loud and clear. Can I be seen? How is everyone this afternoon, Wednesday, after election day? And I guess we're still waiting for the results, huh? Split the nation up. How is everyone? Sound check coming through? The day after election day. I guess lots of people have their feelings about this election. But I actually want to talk about something that's important, something that affects us on a daily basis, every day of the week. And we don't even know it. It's like the secret creeper creeps into our lives and does things that we don't want. All right, cool. Thanks. Thank you, Judith. Marjorie Williams. Thank you. And thank you, Marjorie, for that $25 Cash App. Thank you for that. Thank you. So I wanted to speak to everyone about something that we hear about, except probably don't discuss it in a way that I'm going to do today. The saboteur, how we sabotage things in our own lives. That's what I want to talk about. And we sabotage in ways that we never think it's sabotaging because we're kind of trained and raised and taught and told to do things this way. And we never figure out that it's actually hurting us. Some people figure it out when they get older. Some people never figure it out. They take it to the grave. So I want to talk about the top two ways. Top two ways. We just kill off success, career, love life, friends. And I'm willing to say everyone's doing it every day. Even watching it, you even would have seen it in the presidential campaign at that level. I see it with CEOs and corporations. I see it with employees and the assistant. I see it with women I speak to personally. I see it with family members. Seen it in myself. And it's one of those things that it's almost like we're addicted to it. Hard to get out of it because that's what we know how to do. So what could be so addictive and we don't even know it's an addiction? What could be driving us to do things that sabotage our own success? What could be doing that? Our own lives. Like you get one life, and this is not a dress rehearsal. And we do things in the way we engage people You hear women talk about it a lot. And I've been going back and forth with some chats about relationships and roles and relationship skills. And most people don't even consider relationship skills. They don't even consider compatibility. They're looking for something else. And oftentimes the very things we're looking for, that we're desiring, and we only desire it because we've been told to desire it, right? So who's telling us? Snow White, Cinderella, all the fairy tales, Hollywood, our parents, our teachers, the movies, the magazines, Cosmopolitan, male friends, female friends, cousins, parents. They're all telling us to engage in this behavior, all of those things. So it's like we're so surrounded by it. Like, how do you escape something that's part of your everyday life and you do it? And it's almost like it's the floor. Like you walk on the floor, you don't think about walking on the floor, yet you walk on it. It's kind of like that. It's invisible, except it's there. You don't pay attention to it. So I guess if you're in the animal kingdom, right, and you're a peacock and you spread your feathers and you look great, and that's how you attract a female, right? You're a male lion, you have this mane. All these things look good. Except as human beings, we're so focused on looking good that we actually will sacrifice and give up our own success because looking good is more important. So, whether it's a mistake we made, pretending to be something we're not, as human beings, we invest so much time in looking good that we will sacrifice everything else. So I'm saying there are two things. One is we want to look good, and we invest a lot of money and effort, time. We put a lot of resources, and we actually get other people to support us to make sure they can validate our looking good, as though that's the answer. All I have to do is look good. Guys go out on a night scene and they make sure they've got their best clothes on and smelling good, looking good. And then the ladies, they go out and buy new outfits. Some of them buy outfits and return it. They just put the tag on the inside and return the outfit the next day because they're so committed. They're so interested in looking good. Except when it comes down to the relationship, great looking clothes and a nice body will never make a relationship work. Might have some good feelings attached to it. So we're so focused on looking good. And it's not just our physical appearance. So the choice of a mate, right? So if I choose this person, will I look good in public? So we end up choosing the wrong person because we're so focused on looking good. We take the wrong job because we want to look good. We move into a neighborhood that's probably not our best interest, but we look good. We choose a company that says that we look good, as opposed to working in a company in a position that, is best. We major in things in college that we really have no interest in. We want to look good. And then you get into the workplace. I mean, politics, you can play the political game to look good and make it look like you're working and make it look like, your resume looks good and you say the right things. You can be a player in your career. You can be a player in your personal life. And all of it surrounds looking good. And then when the rubber meets the road and it's time to deliver, there's no substance because we did all of our practice and rehearsal on looking good. And we look so good We're just a peacock with the feathers up. But that's about it. So we focus so much on looking good that we never focus on what it takes to be extraordinary. And so you might look good being extraordinary, and sometimes you might look horrible being extraordinary. You may have tripped up and slipped up and made all kinds of mistakes and vomited. You trained so hard you vomited. None of that looks good. I mean, when Usain Bolt broke world records in 100-meter, no one saw how bad he looked in practice, where he trained so hard that he vomited. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was Mr. Olympia, same thing happened to him. He trained so hard he vomited. And yes, in bodybuilding, you want to look good, but the training itself and the pain and what you're willing to commit to doesn't always look good. There's no glamour behind the scenes. People just see the looking good outcome, but what it takes to get there. People focus on the looking good first, as opposed to doing the high committed activities that requires you to look like Arnold did when he was Mr. Olympia, that requires you to cross the finish line first and break records like Usain Bolt. So we focus so much on looking good, but that's a way that human beings survive. We survive in the world. Now, the other side, the second part, is we avoid looking bad. And one way people can avoid looking bad is pretend they're a victim. So if you constantly choose the wrong person for a relationship and it doesn't work, instead of saying, well, I made really poor decisions, you avoid looking bad and you play victim. Or you blame that person. You have to defend yourself. You have to invalidate, well, that person tricked me. But then there's no responsibility whatsoever. And these two things, a full mindset going towards looking good, and if you're not trying to look good, you're trying to avoid looking bad. And these are two things that kills, it sabotages success. Hey, PJ, thanks. You're getting it. Tell me what you're getting out of this, if it's tailor-made for you. Yeah, PJ, no question. I would say women invest way more effort into looking good than men do, except men do it too, because looking good is not just physical, because it happens at your job. People lie to look good, right? They'll lie on their resume. They'll lie about what they accomplished at work. They'll take credit when someone else did the job. You hear about managers that take credit to look good, and they don't give credit to their other people. They look good. Or they play politics. They try to make someone else look bad so they can look good. So it's not just physical. When you talk about relationships, though, women put so much, an enormous amount of effort into looking good. They go out, they go on a first date, they buy outfits. And I said earlier, hell, women will buy an outfit and tuck the tag in and return the outfit the next day because they just want to look good for that night, for that date. But when you ask people about the relationship skills, you ask a woman about being feminine and the things that a man would want from a woman, she never learned any of that. All she did was dedicate all of her time to looking good. And then when she gets into the relationship, bang. Right, exactly. They choose men who will look good. Now, and here's the other side to that, PJ. Women will choose guys, and when it doesn't work out, she chose the bad boy, and then she says, oh, well, he played me. I didn't know he was a bad boy. She'll play victim to avoid looking bad. So it's like we only have two gears in life, and that's how we survive. Because if we don't look good or look bad, it's almost like we think people are going to abandon us, or doors are going to close, opportunities will be lost. I mean, imagine if the Wright brothers were more focused on looking good, they would have never created a flying machine, because they would have been trying to look good as opposed to failing over and over again. Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail over 10,000 times with the light bulb. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. And he learned a lot of things. And he didn't look, I mean, who looks good when you want to accomplish something and you do it more than 10 times, more than 100 times, more than 1,000, more than 5,000, more than 10,000. At some point you look ridiculous, except he made it work. And so the people who are willing to make things work can be powerful in the face of looking good, looking bad, or not looking good. So I mentioned Thomas Edison, the Wright brothers. I mean, can you imagine Michael Jordan getting cut from the basketball team? He would have looked bad. He should have just cut it. But he went out. It's almost like he went to the mountain, to the top of the mountain, and trained where no one was there, and he worked his butt off. And it wasn't to look good. There was something else behind that. So if Michael Jordan only trained to look good, he would have been fancy, but he wouldn't have scored. He wouldn't have had the accuracy in his shot. He trained for extraordinary. And most people would prefer to train to look good as opposed to being extraordinary, because to be extraordinary, well, you're going to look sloppy. You're going to fail. Tiger Woods, extraordinary golfer. A lot of people don't know he changed his swing like 2 or 3 different times. And every time he changed his swing, he went from being top of his game to he tanked, because he had a new swing and he sucked at the new swing. And when he mastered the new swing, he went back to the top. And then he was crazy enough to change the swing again. Game dropped. So people who are not focused on looking good and they focus on outcomes produce different results than people who are focused on looking good. And yes, PJ, women put an enormous amount of effort into looking good. Clothes, they have closets full of shoes, full of clothes, shoes they don't wear, outfits they wore one time because it looked good. And if they wear it again, it's going to make them look bad. I can't wear that outfit again. Someone saw me with that outfit before, so they're going to go spend another 100, 200, whatever the amount. They're going to go spend more money to buy a new outfit because they don't want to look bad wearing the same outfit again. So they become consumers. And, you know, in the end, in the long run, if you avoid looking bad, you don't take risks. And men take more risks than women, right? So you say our biochemistry makes us more aggressive, and we'll take risks that women won't take. But in the end, even though we may fail, the things we learn and what we produce, in the end, we end up looking better. We end up building towers and roads and machines that fly to space. And we fail over and over. I mean, hell, look at Einstein's theory of relativity. It's never been proved. It's still a theory, a hypothesis. No one can prove it. He still laid out a theory. And maybe when he laid it out, 3 people in the world understood it. He could have looked stupid. Maybe he did. Maybe some people said, this guy is crazy. It doesn't even make sense. He risked looking bad. Steve Jobs many times risked looking bad. I think it was called a Newton in 1983. It was I don't have one, but he comes out with something that we now have an iPad. It failed in 83. It failed miserably. He did an awesome big time fail in 1983 with that Newton. It was a notebook. But he came back with it later. Yeah, and you know, PJ, sometimes women will choose shoes they can't even walk in just to look good. That to me is insane. They'll spend several $100s on a pair of shoes. It hurts to walk in them, except they look good. I won't understand that. And look at the money that women spend to get a tummy tuck, breast implants, butt implants, Botox, lip injections, all of these things to look good. Instead of taking your ass to the gym and working out and building a body, the shortcut, like the working out gives you the health. Go run a few miles a day or a week. They'd rather consume surgical implants to look good. I mean, there's all kinds of, yeah, exactly, a quick fix. There's all kinds of evidence that supports if you exercise, it secretes certain chemicals, biochemicals in your body that helps reduce aging, youthful feeling. They do. So I'm saying, and so imagine you're only focused on looking good, right? So your body, your internal organs are a mess. You eat all kinds of bad food, except you get liposuction. You get fat taken out of your waist and put into your butt or your breast. What's happening inside your body is horrible, except on the outside you look good, and on the inside you're literally destroying your body. And I assume they've looked at long-term effects of all these implants, butt and breast, and whatever else implants. I mean, what are these women going to do who are getting implants at 25? How will they look at 60, 70, 80 years old? And their tattoo is now sagging. This is, I mean, Cher has had so many facelifts, like she's permanently smiling. She can't even close her mouth. There's such a commitment to looking good. Yes, Marjorie. It's unfortunate. I mean, the billions of dollars in hair. Well, see, guys do it too. See, guys, men and women will pretend to be someone they are not to look good. So people have this, I have confidence. And if I show you, this whole fake it till you make it. So what I'm getting at is, yeah, Dolly Parton, exactly. What I'm getting at is there's a certain mindset. So if we look at people who were willing to look bad and they fell and they tripped and they didn't get the result they want, except they had a mindset that said, I'm at 0, I want to get to 10, and I made it to 5, and then I made it to 8. And then to get from 8 to 10 is going to require an enormous amount of effort. And I'm going to look really stupid, like I'm going for something that doesn't make sense. Those people are more likely to produce some extraordinary result. And the people who are at 0 and say, well, I'm going to avoid looking bad, so I'm going to stay here and I'll keep doing the same things that I've always done. And they avoid looking bad. They don't look stupid. They don't look like they wanted to accomplish something extraordinary that looks ridiculous. And they continue to look good. And they're what people call the comfort zone. And they never leave that. And you can look good in your comfort zone for your entire life. And you'll accomplish the same thing over and over again until they outsource your job to China and you develop nothing else. So people will avoid responsibility in relationships or in work. So in a relationship, one of the ways people can avoid looking bad is they argue a lot because they don't really understand what their significant other wants. So and imagine they don't know. Afraid of criticism. Exactly. But imagine you're in a relationship and you just don't know what you're doing. Imagine you get in a relationship with, imagine there's a woman who's just absolutely gorgeous and on paper she looks great, except she didn't really learn human dynamics and how to engage with another human being in a relationship. She's saying, well, I have this piece of paper called a degree and I have a job. And when she gets in a relationship with a guy who's done the work and he has the mindset, she doesn't know how to engage that guy aside from looking great and saying, I have an MBA. So that woman, instead of saying, I'm incompetent in this situation, a woman will oftentimes be rattled by that. And instead of facing up that she looks bad and say, hey, well, I need to learn some things, she may cause arguments and fights or invalidate the guy to avoid looking bad, or say, well, I'm not perfect like you, and you're now she's the victim. Hey, Sudata Roy, thanks for joining. What's going on? Thanks for coming in. So we're talking about two ways people sabotage their success. And the one way is people put all their effort into looking good instead of developing themselves. And I talked about how Usain Bolt and Arnold Schwarzenegger were champions. And one of the things that happened in their practice that didn't make them look good is they vomited after practice. They trained so hard, they were vomiting. Most people don't want to train that hard. Thomas Edison failed with the light bulb over 10,000 times. I mean, imagine the criticism he took. The Wright brothers, for sure, they criticized. They told the Wright brothers, don't quit your day job. Go back to building bicycles. Why are you guys trying to invent flying? If man were meant to fly, he would have wings. They just criticized them. And they looked bad. Yeah, let's get the likes up, guys. Share this. This is a little bit different than what I normally talk about. So this topic that I'm doing now is really more focused on, or it comes from my career. So I advise CEOs as an advisor from strategy, as executive coach, and I transform corporate culture. So it's dealing with mindset, strategy, development, leadership. And it's what I see even with CEOs. They have these, I haven't met someone who has avoided this. And I'm counting living in the jungle of Belize with Mayan Indians, no electricity, no running water. And I still saw people who sabotage themselves by trying to look good or attempting to look bad, avoiding looking bad. I haven't been anywhere. I've been to Greenland and Iceland and Suriname, and I've been to South America, and Central America, and Canada. Everywhere I've gone, I've seen people engaged in these two things that are so dedicated to looking good or avoiding looking bad that people actually will step over responsibility, their own responsibility in the situation, and even understanding the responsibility of how to make things happen because they just focused. It was like tunnel vision for looking good. All I have to do is look good. All I have to do is do this to look good. And that's like a house of cards. There's nothing for it to stand on. There's no committed outcome. There's no accomplishment. It's like I said, if you're at 0 and you want to get to 10, well, if you stay here at 0, you're already good at this and you've done this before and you keep doing it. But then you get the maniac like Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and Einstein and Steve Jobs, who say we're going to get to 10, and they failed many times on the way. And they looked bad, and people may have ridiculed them. So if you stay where you are until your job gets outsourced to China, you'll look good until you don't. So I'm saying this is in no way am I criticizing people for doing it, because I'll look good. I'll do things to look good. I mean, I'll come on here, or I may not come on here if I don't think I have something that's a valuable topic for you guys. So today I thought if I authentically share something that I know, I don't need a script. I didn't write this out. I mean, I can talk about this for days, for literally, I do workshops on this. So we all want to look good, but it's when we start to invalidate others and play victim, deny it, blame. The feminists have taught, and this gets imposed. This is part of the human paradigm. So where I'm going with the feminists is that they have scared the hell out of women by telling women that all men want to do is control and dominate you, keep you in the kitchen, in the bedroom. And now women think if they're a good homemaker, they're going to look bad to the feminist. If they become feminine, they're going to look bad. So women fight their own nature to avoid looking bad. And whenever human beings fight against nature, we tend to lose. We just do. And so if you just listen to someone else on how to achieve the things that you want in life, it's a good chance that's going to hurt you. I did a video, I think about 2 weeks ago, with a woman I used to date. And we talked in the video about how she listened to her friends. They told her I was going to control her because I was older than her. And her sister said I was a player, and all these things that scared her. And then now she was afraid of looking bad. She was afraid that if her friends thought I was controlling her, or if we go out to a restaurant and the waitress laughs and she thinks I'm now being a player, like all these things, she's thinking about how she's looking bad. And it created what you guys would call insecurity. So as soon as a person, if their biggest goal in life is to look good and they don't look good, well, that creates this insecurity, and they have to blame someone, or, well, that only happened because you did this or you didn't do that, and they get to play victim. Yeah, women do fight against nature. And it's hurting them. Even being promiscuous, these women who have been told that they can have sex with as many guys as they want, it's backfiring on a lot of women, and they don't want to be responsible for that. It's like, this is the example of letting someone else tell you how to live your life. And especially if they tell you to live it against the laws of nature. If you don't even understand your body fully, you end up paying a price. So instead of, hey, you're a woman, you slept with 20, 30, 40 guys, and it created some emotional instability for you, because that's the way it's going to work in a woman's brain, is that it's going to destabilize her emotions, her brain functions. So instead of being responsible for, hey, I did this and it wasn't in my best interest, she's going to say, well, you can't handle me. So she has to avoid looking bad. She has to avoid looking like she took her life down the wrong path. So it's your problem that you don't know how to handle me. It's not that I'm emotionally unstable. It's just you're not tough enough. You're not strong enough. You're not man enough. And there's absolutely zero responsibility. And she gets to do that for the rest of her life. And then when women go and marry other women, it's a lesbian relationship. Even that has a 45% divorce rate. So how is any of that working? So, Sudhara, what do you mean against her nature? How is religion making women go against their nature? Yeah, PJ, that's a big problem that guys support that and say, "Yeah, man, you're not tough enough, you're not strong enough." And then they're like, "Well, if you were with me, I would be tough enough to deal with you." And then she just walks all over his ass. He ends up really looking bad. Right, you can't handle me. So how does religion make a woman go against her nature? That's what I want to know. So I'm in some ways I am saying looking good and avoiding looking bad is so ingrained into the human paradigm that we don't even realize we're doing it. It's part of our everyday life. It's it's honestly, it's like it's on the floor. Everyone is doing it on a daily basis, and you don't realize it. You want to take credit for things you didn't do. Um, Hell, Instagram is all about looking good. The Instagram models and filters. People are taking pictures and Photoshop and using filters to look better than they do. See, this whole sense of our authentic self is, I think, is getting killed even more with social media. So people don't have a lot of space to just be themselves. People are so focused on looking good and avoiding looking bad. It's almost like they can't breathe, and they think it's so normal that it's as normal as the floor and walking on the floor. Okay. Well, so let me say something about courtship, Sudata. Courtship is really about getting to know the woman to see if she's a match. And what it's been turned into is um, it's almost like women compete with one another. And guys too. Now both men and women are engaged in a looking good. So guys will spend a lot of money on women in the courting or dating, right? To look good, as opposed to just getting to know the woman so she can know if they're actually a match. So they're both so focused on having fun and excitement and looking good that they actually don't get to know one another. So if you're really courting someone for marriage, that you technically don't need to spend any money. You really need to sit down and find out if you're compatible. And people are not doing that. And Sudata, I just living in Mexico, I saw that even in other countries, that there was that. You may see there's less materialism when you go abroad, especially certain countries. That's interesting, PJ. So I did a video with an ex, a woman who used to live with me, and she was a woman who could not go out alone. And in the video, she talks about how she and I were in the movie theater, and we saw a woman who came to the theater, to the movie alone. The woman sat next to me, and I asked my ex if you can do that. And she was like, "No, I'll never do that," and blah blah. And we had a conversation with this woman who was alone. And then one day I told my ex, "You have to go." She said, "Let's go to the movies." I said, "Great, you're going to go by yourself." And she kicked and screamed and said, "No way, no way, no way." But I sort of enforced that, and she went alone. And for her, she found this new freedom. But for initially, she thought she was going to look bad. So now she can go to restaurants, movies, and I think this is people are so focused on looking good that they spend a lot less effort getting to know themselves. Because if people spent more time getting to know themselves, they would have a better idea as to who's compatible with them. And I'm asserting that a big reason so many relationships fail is it's because people don't know who they are and what's a match for them, what's a truly compatible match. So what people use, and this is really where it comes to looking good, people are comparing what's in the media, what do my friends have, what's in the love stories, and they compare that with their life and say, that's what I want, instead of them saying, hey, this is who I am, this is what a match is for me. They're just looking at reflections of images and ideals and have no idea how to get to them, but they just have an idea, if I look like that, if I do like the fairy tale, if I do what the fairy tale says, then I'll have a fairy tale relationship. And then when it doesn't work, that's when they go back to the whole playing victim and blaming and invalidate. Well, he was an asshole or she was a gold digger. People don't learn how to have relationships. People don't spend, it's like you said, people don't want to go to restaurants. They don't want to go anywhere alone. They just may have to deal with themselves. And that's that should be telling. If you don't want to spend time alone with yourself, why should anyone else want to? I mean, think about that. I mean, people ask me, so, aren't you alone? Don't you feel lonely? I'm like, man, I'm the greatest person for me to spend time with. I never get bored with Ted Santos, ever. I love spending time with him. And if I don't like spending time with me, why should I expect someone else to want to? So spending time with yourself gives you a real opportunity to do an inventory. And so if people can start to see, okay, am I doing this to look good or to avoid looking bad? Or is there some outcome that I want? People don't look at life that way. What do I want to accomplish in life? What do I want to accomplish in a relationship? What do I want out of this relationship? What's going to be fulfilling in a relationship? What do I want out of this career? Have I developed myself to be the best in this career? And if I haven't, what are the things I need to do to get there? Or am I just doing this career to look good? PJ, yeah. Yeah, imagine that. Phones are more interesting than themselves, right? So, their phones are so interesting that they walk around just like this down the street. I mean, people are literally being run over by cars because of that. Imagine your phone is more interesting than yourself. Seems impossible. But we've made it. We've arrived. We have arrived. We have, I won't say we've mastered looking good, but we've become damn good at looking good. And it's almost like that's all there is in life. Right. Being with your own thoughts. You may be thinking things that sabotage you. So instead of dealing with that, instead of saying, okay, this is the way I think, like this is my mindset. This is how I become when things don't go my way. Like if you really want to come face to face with yourself, put yourself in a chaotic situation. Create a scenario where you're at 0, you want to get to 10 and you're not sure. And it can't be a pipe dream, something you're really committed to. You'd like to do, you've always wanted to do. and you start moving forward, you'll start encountering things that you haven't encountered because you haven't been on that path. For you, even if someone else has done it, you may not have a blueprint for it. Doesn't mean it can't be done. That's why you have people who you call mentors or consultants. There are people who can support you in getting through that. What you will come face to face with is your own limits, and you'll come face to face with you when things are not going the way you want. Do you become angry? Do you shut down? Like, these are all sort of the symptoms of people wanting to look good or avoid looking bad. And it's automatic, almost like when you put a coin in the jukebox and you press a button and the song comes on. So that's kind of the way we operate when we want to avoid looking good, avoid looking bad, or we want to look good. It's almost like machinery. I am automatic. I must look good in this situation. Must not look bad. Must not look bad. Avoid eye contact. Avoid conversation. Do not talk about yourself. I must not reveal who I am. She will not like me. I must be cool. I mean, if you're just trying to get laid, man, if it's a pump and dump, you can pretend to be some great character out of a movie, and lots of women will love that. But if you're looking to be serious, even in a job, in your career, just being yourself, authentically you, that's where your treasure is. And we give it away. It's like we give away our own power, our own authentic power by focusing on looking good. Like, we're trying to figure out what will look good in this situation instead of having the power to make it happen and going through all the trips and trials and tribulations. That's a good one. Right. Exactly. See, but that's where the avoiding looking bad, right? So when people, that's a sure way to stay on a path to avoid looking bad, because you'll always compare yourself. So you either have to one up, right? And guys do this in dating. Guys will want to one up other men by saying, well, I'll take her here, or I'll do this for her. I'll spend more than what the last guy spent. There was probably a time where women were just fine going for a walk in a park, and then some guy says, well, I'll take you for ice cream, and a guy says, well, I'll take you to movies, and another guy says, well, I'll take you to dinner in the movies, and another guy says, I'll take you shopping. One guy says, well, I'll take you to the Bahamas. And they all get to look good. And now the women are comparing themselves with other women. Hell, you got ice cream? I was taken to the Bahamas. You got taken. What's going on, Lando? What's up? That's what my family calls me, Teddy. That's me. Talking about 2 ways people sabotage their success: career, friends, family, personal. People just want to look good. I look good. You don't have to practice much. You don't have to have any commitment to look good. Or if it's not working, you avoid looking bad. I didn't do it. He did it. They did it. Yep, PJ, well said. Exactly. In the eyes of our friends, people talk about we're a power couple. Or they go to church. We go to church as a couple. We pray together. I'll only date a guy who goes to the church I go to, or goes to church because I'm going to look good. no compatibility. And see, that goes back to what you were saying about people spending time with themselves and their own thoughts and doing an inventory. So, if you look at compatibility, I would say that integrity is a big deal. So integrity is all about being whole and complete, right? So if you look at the integrity of an automobile, they build it, all the bolts, the screws, the parts, spark plugs, the crankshaft, the tires, the brakes, all of that is there, and it supports the integrity of the vehicle. When you start pulling certain things out and the integrity of the vehicle is compromised, you might have a wheel fall off, or the oil is going to leak, or the transmission is not bolted correctly. So when the integrity, the whole and completeness of your automobile is compromised, there's a good chance it can fall apart, cause an accident, die, may not ever start. So when I talk about integrity, I'm also talking about the integrity of your word. What comes out of your mouth? Is it whole and complete? Do you honor your word? If I say I'll be there tomorrow at 10, I'm there at 10. 10:01 is late. That means my word is not my bond, right? I don't have integrity. I say things and I don't keep my word. So my word is like, it's out of integrity. Things fall apart, right? Imagine you work in a company and no one does what they say they were going to do. That company's going to fail. So if you're looking to work in a company or be in a relationship, and integrity is important to you, but you have to make sure you're really a person who keeps your word. Is your word good? And if you go into a relationship with someone who doesn't keep their word, that's going to be a problem, an ongoing problem. Now, people can learn to keep their word. If someone holds them accountable, holds their feet to the fire, right? You can do that. How do you manage money? Are you compatible in that? Right? If you want to have children, how do you want to educate them? Homeschool, private school, public school? Where do you want to live? Socioeconomic, community, country. What languages do you want to teach your children? Like communication. Are you transparent, or are you always holding cards close to your vest? Did you come up believing that, you always have to keep a mystery? You have to hide things. See, if you do that inventory and see where you really are and be honest with yourself, that's going to happen from you spending time alone to see if you're a match with someone else. And then you need to be honest about where you are. Except people don't do that. They'd rather say on paper, I'm this, but they don't have a mindset to keep the discipline and the commitment it requires to be what they say they are on paper. So, and then when you add what you just said, PJ, I've got to worry about what my friends say. I remember when I was a freshman in college, I met this woman. She didn't know I was a freshman. She was very, very pretty. And she was in grad school. And when I told her I was a freshman, she said, I can't date you. And she surely was interested in me. She said, I can't date you. My friends will have a problem with that. And I would see her around often. She was gorgeous, but I was a freshman. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Or I was in high school speaking to girls in college. They thought I was in college. They were like, nah, I can't do it. Or I guess you can lie, right? But that's all right. I'd rather be straight. I'd rather say I'm in high school. smashing a woman in college. So, but yes, that whole looking good. So guys have to watch this. This is what looking good can hurt a guy, because you may end up spending more money than you need to spend on a woman. You may end up doing what she says, because so guys can want to look good with a woman because he thinks, if I don't look good, I'm not going to have sex. And you know what? If you be yourself and she doesn't like that, and I know that's corny and people say it all the time, it just may not be a match. Let her go. But I'm telling you, women have way more respect when you are when you're comfortable being your man self. You know, you guys see me. You saw me in that video where I had the woman on my shoulder, caveman. You don't have to be a caveman, except I bet you have it in there somewhere. Women will respect that. It doesn't have to be full-time 24/7, but I believe every guy has it in them. We all do. We don't need to be ashamed about it. I mean, there's a thing called fulfillment in relationships. And if all you're doing is focused on having an image, it's very difficult to get fulfillment out of an image. You look good. You look just like the image. You look just like the prince in the story. Just like that. I mean, if you're just looking to pump and dump, you can do that. I'm not advocating pump and dump, and I know there's a place and a time and place for everything. But if you just hold up this image your whole life, you're going to be exhausted. You never have time to be yourself. But you'll look good, and you'll avoid looking bad. It's like they work hand in hand. Looking good is the right hand. Avoiding looking bad is the left hand. They work together like a robot. They come out when they are needed. Push the button and I look good. Push this button, I avoid looking bad. I am on track. The world will love me. I think one reason people probably like Donald Trump is that he didn't care about looking bad. He said what the hell he wanted. Does anyone know? I assume they're still figuring that out, right? They don't know who won yet. And I assume Biden probably is going to win. And that's PJ, exactly. You can be a player and look good, man. You can master that. And I think that I've said to women, a lot of women hurt themselves with men, because when a man is just himself, hey, how you doing? I'd like to get to know you. That's it. My name is Ted Santos. I'd like to get to know you. Can we talk? Can we have a seat and talk? As opposed to coming up with these lines and sounding smooth and being a player, and I look good, but when I go to the woman and say, hi, how you doing? I'd like to talk to you. And she's looking at me like, oh, he's corny. I didn't get any chemistry. So now I have to go be a player. And she's like, oh, yeah, that was exciting. And I want to go out with him. But I'm not being myself. And so a lot of women will say he changed. It's like, well, he was a player to get you, but then he wanted to be himself. There was no space. A lot of women don't give men space to be themselves. So a lot of women end up sabotaging their relationship because they're looking for the guy to be a player. I saw a video of a woman, black woman in France, and she said she went out with this guy who was a white guy, and on their first date, the guy said, I'm the type of guy who wants to get married, have children, and live happily ever after. And the woman says see, this is what I'm telling you. It's like a machine. She automatic went to, oh, this guy's corny. It's not going to work. I'm going to look bad. My friends will never like this guy. And then she said, well, let me give him a chance. She ended up marrying the guy and said she can't live without him. But the guy was just being himself. Nothing wrong with that. So what she was cut and what she said in the video was that What's wrong with this guy? Doesn't he have any game? Why is he just honestly saying, I want to get married and have children and live happy? Like, that's not, she was saying that's not game. In her words, she said, this guy doesn't have game. So, ladies, you demanding that guys have game, it hurts you. Cat and mouse, you might think you're valuable if he chases you and you get to look good. That creates a dysfunction, because then the whole relationship is about chasing. And as soon as he gets you, there's no longer the chase. The excitement is gone. So then you have to break up and fight. You have to fight and break up. So he chases you again and you get to look good again. And that just creates a path of dysfunction. And and PJ, a lot of guys are worried about looking bad. They want to be able to speak open and honest like Trump. And if I'm incompetent about something, I'm just incompetent. But still, he was the president of the United States. Yeah, Trump keeps it real. And if he looks bad, he doesn't care. And you can tweet, and he does all the things that he wants to do. And there are lots of guys who've been like that. They've been very successful. There's power in being yourself. When you cover yourself up with a looking good mask, or you have to get the other mask that helps you hide and avoid looking bad, I mean, they both hide you. But it's almost like we're programmed like machines, like we have an operating system that only has 2 gears. You have to look good and avoid looking bad. Watch out. Don't go to the right. Don't go this way because you'll look bad. Go this way. You'll look better. Don't date that woman. You're going to look bad. Date this one. You'll look good, even though she's incompetent. So people focus so much time on looking good and avoiding looking bad that they actually never develop the skills to do the things they want. Now, you can go to college and they can give you knowledge, and you read the book and you have ideas. And this is why a lot of companies say, well, you may have the knowledge, you just don't have the experience. So you've got to get the experience. You've got to develop yourself in the experience. And these are the things. These are when a lot of people talk about personal development, self-improvement, develop yourself, right? So think of it this way, guys. You've heard of basketball camp, football camp, hockey camp, baseball camp. They have all these camps. They probably even have a camp for playing chess, where you go away and you develop the experience, the skills. You become much more effective. You get rid of bad habits to learn the better technique, to do all those things better. You learn the game. You learn they start helping you master it. So we have all these camps for sports, but how many camps do we have for mindset, where we're essentially doing the same thing? That we're learning that in our own minds, we have minefields. And if all of you and we were standing at the foot of a field and it was 100 meters long and we have to all cross it, and we all have awareness, we're all mindful that that field for 100 meters is filled with mines. Just because we know they're mines doesn't mean that we're going to avoid stepping on them. So in our minds, we have minefields, and people may know this, but they have no way of dismantling those mines so the mines don't blow up and run their life. And this is what, if you're training in a mindset camp, that's what the training would help you unlearn those minds so that you actually have the freedom to actually be who you are. Sudata Roy, thanks, man. Thanks for that. Yep, thank you. So 2 of the minds in the minefield are, one is to look good. So you get into a tough situation and bang, just like automatic, You got to look good. You almost get blinded by what's possible, what you can actually accomplish, because the focus is more on looking good. And so and there are women who are more focused on looking good. So she meets the guy who's really compatible, but he didn't do like the guy in the movies or in the book, or like her friend said, I met this guy and he did this, this, and this the first day we met. So now she's competing, she's comparing. I think, PJ, you said that. People constantly compare themselves with another person. It's like comparing yourself is like a suicide. It's like it's killing off your own life, is the best way for me to put it here. Your own life doesn't even get to breathe because it's being smothered by this desire to look good and avoid looking bad. So the woman meets the guy who's compatible and she won't deal with him. She'll kill it off because she may end up looking bad to her friends. I mean, I dated a woman once and she was on a cell phone with her sister. I could hear her. And her sister asked her, are you getting money from that guy? And she said, no. And her sister starts cursing her out. I taught you better. You should don't have sex without getting money. I mean, imagine having that kind of pressure around you, or conversations of people telling you how to live your life. And for you to look good to that person, you've got to comply with their commands, even if it sabotages the relationship you're in. Yeah, there isn't a mindset camp, but it can be created, PJ, no question. See, these are the skills, I don't want to say skills, the training, the unlearning, the reverse engineering of how you got here, right, can be done. There are tools to do that. I mean, I'm giving you guys I want to say surface. We're peeling off one layer. There are many layers to the mindset training, many layers to peel off. Because behind every layer, just think of it as an onion. And when you peel an onion in each layer, imagine in each layer, there's some possibility. There's something you didn't know about yourself that you begin to uncover. So I can cut the onion in half and give you the answer in the middle. Or we can peel down the layers where in each layer you get more power, you discover things. I mean, it's like, working out in the gym. There's a workout that you can get that can give you lots of bulk and mass and be a power lifter. Or there's one where you can have a lot of cut, and then there's one where you can have mass and cut. But you have to go through those layers to build that cut and that mass. You have to go through that training. And your mind needs to do the same thing. Everyone wants to get paid, huh? So, mindset. Imagine a mindset camp where you go and personally develop yourself. So, if you went to a mindset camp, some of the things how that would benefit you is you'd learn things that you didn't know about yourself. You'd have a real assessment and inventory of yourself, and you'd have a better sense as to the world that you're in and how you want to be in that world, in the workplace, the job that's best for you, friends. You'd have distinctions for the minds in the minefield, and a woman could be a mine. And if you can distinguish that woman, you have a choice. You either accept her as a mine and leave her there, or you dismantle her, which, you guys have heard me say, you really need to strip a woman down. Otherwise, she's just going to bring her past with you. If you can strip her down, and if she gets mindset training too, then she gets to strip her own self down and then build herself back up in a much more powerful way, much more authentic way. But mindset training would be extremely beneficial, because it would allow people to walk through life and have more, they'd have distinctions for the minds in the minefield, the ones that are in their mind, in their own mind, and the ones that exist out in the world, in the workplace, in your friends, people you're just meeting, your family. And you'd have a better way of navigating without stepping on so many minds. And you'd be less constrained by looking good and avoiding looking bad, which can be huge deterrents from accomplishing what you want. So mindset training is extremely important. The interesting thing is, PJ, is the majority of the elite have done mindset training. They really have. That's what supports them in having a very different perspective of life and the world. And some of them make it cost prohibitive, right? It makes it very expensive. But a mindset camp can be established for the average person to go to. I mean, currently, that's essentially that is exactly what I do in corporations. And it's expensive, but it can be done for the average person. Yep, it is breaking down. Breakdowns are powerful. And see, that's the thing. If you intentionally go towards breakdowns, you're going to look bad. You're going to look bad to yourself. You're going to see things in yourself you didn't like. Or you're going to see things in yourself that you didn't know was there. And that can look bad, because it's like, wow, why didn't I know this about myself? And it's really not looking bad, but that's what we're taught to think. Yeah, you can look bad. And you know, so Lando, no one needs saving. You know, that's the way I look at it. No one needs saving. But if you want to train, if you want physically more power, there are places to go to train for that. If you want more endurance, you can run. You can get a running coach, especially if you want to compete. You can get a coach to lift weights if you want to be a bodybuilder or fitness. If you want to be better at speaking Mandarin, you can go somewhere and you can learn. You can train and develop. So there are resources to accomplish all of these things. And like Chris, and thanks for joining, Chris. Breaking down. So it's analogous to lifting weights. If I want to build a bigger and stronger muscle, I break down this muscle and build it back up. It's the diet, right? So, you know, mindset training, part of it is your environment, right? The other part is literally the foods that you do consume, the conversations that you engage in. Now that's, Lando, you bring up a really good one. When you start to transform, the people around you will criticize you, right? Or they'll judge you, they'll discredit, they'll actually do their best to pull you right back to where you were. They'll say, oh man, you think you're better than us? You think you're going to do something better than us? So that's a perfect example of people who will avoid looking bad. Because if you come from the same environment they come from, and you make a leap to accomplish something that in their mind, they convince themselves and others, each other, they convince themselves and others that it's impossible. We can't do anything beyond where we are. And this is it. As soon as they see you step out and do what they claimed was impossible, you just made them look bad. And it's not that you intentionally made them look bad. They look bad because they're comparing themselves to you. And now they have to be with themselves and their own thoughts and say, oh my God, I didn't do XYZ. I was lazy, or I fell for the okie doke that it was impossible. And you just broke the barrier. So to save their own ass from looking bad, they've got to rope you back in and say, hey, man, see, that was impossible. Why'd you waste your time? Stay here with us. This is another way. You bring up a really good point. This is another way that people avoid looking bad. Well, it's easy to get rid of people, but actually it's way more powerful if your environment can transform with you. See, that's the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is if you've gone to a mindset camp, to have the people around you go to that same camp, because the more people you're surrounded by who've also gone through a transformation, the more powerful your own transformation. So, I mean, the first impulse is to just get rid of them. But see, people only do what they know how to do. People do what they've been taught to do. That's all. People only know how to do what they've been given. If you give someone one language, that's the only language they're going to have. And you start speaking a second language, they might criticize you. Except if you go to an environment where other people speak that second language, you're going to have a better chance of mastering it. Well, I don't know if it's impossible to transform, but I know that people have been taught that they can't do certain. See, people have been given, they've been told that they have certain limits. They have limits based on gender, based on skin color, based on socioeconomic class. And that's all they know. But if you don't introduce people to mathematics, they won't know anything about mathematics. If you don't introduce them to English grammar, they'll never know how to write correctly. Yeah, Lando, we've got to get rid of that conversation of crabs in a bucket. There are no crabs in a bucket. I know it seems like it because that's what people have been saying for generations. But people, it's what I was saying earlier. People want to look good and avoid looking bad. And if you go somewhere that they don't know how to go, they're going to look bad because they are comparing themselves to you. So for them to save face and survive and be able to look good in their environment, they've got to make sure everyone else stays where they are. This is just a belief system. It's not like it's real. But if you understand that this is just a conversation people have with themselves, there's no reason for you to buy into the same exact conversation. See, the simplest thing about transformation, the simplest thing about mindset training, in the easiest way, like I'm going to give you the answer, it's transforming conversations or beliefs or thoughts. So because, you know, if I have paper, right, or if I have a phone, I mean, these things are hard, right? This is hard to just transform and change this. If it's just a conversation you have with yourself, that is the easiest thing to transform. It's invisible. It's something you don't see. It's like a snake shedding its skin. So you shed conversations that you inherited for your whole life and you create new ones. That's really what transformation is about. People think it's the habits and behaviors. It's really, your behaviors are always a reflection of the conversations you're having. Even the conversations that says we can't do that, this is impossible. I don't care whether it's because of your socioeconomic class or your gender or your race. When you help people get rid of those conversations, then they start to take actions they never took before. And I'm not saying it to oversimplify it, because To unlearn a conversation, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes a huge commitment. But it's not mass. It's not like a brick that you have to crumble and take apart. And that, I think that's the way it's been presented, that transformation is so difficult. It's this hard thing, and it's not hard, but the fact that people believe change and transformation is difficult is an example of a conversation people bought into. There's nothing real about that, except people believe it's real because someone said it's real. And because someone said it's real, once you believe it, you now have to find evidence to prove it's right. Oh, see, look, I tried to change, it didn't work. It can't be done. It's unlearning this thing that transformation is difficult. People are toxic. Like, none of that is real. People don't need to be saved. They don't need to be fixed because no one's broken. But we have conversations that say people are broken. People are wrong. Masculinity is toxic. These are, and I know on the surface it sounds like I'm just oversimplifying it. But people are addicted to conversations. And if you understand how the brain works, they're just electrical impulses in your brain, and they're the only ones you have. The human brain is like elastic. It's plastic. You can grow new paths in your brain that have completely new conversations. The human brain has that capacity. We just don't. Our school system doesn't give people the tools to do that. Actually, our school system gives us the tools to make just one or two, only a couple of paths, and we just keep going through the same path, like a path in the woods. The more times you go in that path, the more worn out it is. Can being your true self be detrimental? Well, I think an untrained true self, possibly, because if you don't know how to handle conflict, see, conflict resolution is never about the conflict or the other person or the situation. It's about how you handle yourself. And that is the most difficult part. Because when conflict arises and you become angry and you've got to prove to people, that usually gets right back to looking good and avoiding looking bad. And so your true self, without any training, may be so focused on looking bad that you feel like you have to kick someone's ass to show them that they can't make you look bad. What do you mean women are addicted to conversations except when they have to try and attract a man? I could respond to that, but I'm not sure what you mean. So there are lots of people who are untrained to manage conflict. Hell, they're untrained to manage success. They'll sabotage success. Hell, they'll think that if you open a door for them, you want to take advantage of them, so they won't go through it. People are dealing with so much noise in their head. They're like a ball in a pinball machine being tossed around in so many different directions. It's like they have nothing to do with how they get flipped, tossed around. They're just constantly responding to things. They live in total response. And all the conversations, they have no way of managing them. They have no way of knowing which conversations are real and which ones are just imaginary and made up. Like, Sudata. Yeah, we live in my joke is we live in an insane asylum and the patients are running the asylum. We're actually educated to not be ourselves. But there really is power in being your authentic self. I'm going to look at your true self. So I would say really being your true self, it's not detrimental. If you are being someone who's trying to look good or avoid looking bad, and you've layered your true self with looking good and avoiding looking bad, and you think your true self has to look good and avoid looking bad, then that could be detrimental. But if you strip all that off, I would say being your true self is not detrimental. You're going to engage another human being. And some people may get it, right? So you may engage some people who see you being authentically yourself, and they may have some envy because they haven't figured out how to authentically be themselves. They may have some envy, except over time, they will observe you and see that you were just authentically you. You were being yourself. A lot of times those people will apologize. But initially, they may harbor some envy. So I'm kind of dancing with your question, PJ. It's a good one. But your true self, without the additives of looking good and avoiding looking bad. Right. And the woman who does embrace you for being you, man, that woman's going to really have strong affinity for you. Yeah. Psychologists say for every waking hour, for every 60 minutes you're awake, only 5 minutes is spent it's only 5 minutes spent thinking. The other 55 minutes is just having thoughts about stuff you've already heard or read or seen. So your original thoughts are very small. And if you engage in a lot of original thought, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty in that domain. And it could not feel good. There would be confusion, uncertainty, the unknown. So we're not really trained to stay in that kind of space. Yeah, PJ. I'm not saying self-control. I think it's a waste of time to try and control yourself, because whatever makes a person upset or happy or sad, someone taught you that. You can't even control your own thoughts, because if I said don't think nothing for 5 minutes, nothing, no pictures, no thoughts, nothing. How many people can do that? How many people can get to nothing just like that? If you can, that's a person who can control their thoughts. Think nothing. It's your thoughts that will dictate your actions. So, and if you understand that about yourself and other people, then you begin to understand that people are only doing what they were told to do. You're told to look good. You're told to avoid looking bad. Hey, you know what, PJ? A lot of children are geniuses at a young age. And by the time they go through the education system, the genius gets wiped out. Very children survive their own genius. We're taught to just memorize someone else's genius. We're never taught how to bring out our own. So when I speak of mindset training, it's to take the dust off, peel off the dust that's hiding our own genius. And in some ways, everyone has their own genius. That's why I say way more people have a capacity for transforming themselves. And it comes as a result of peeling off the dust that society has put on you, the layers of dust of how you have to do this to look good. You have to get A's to look good. You have to dress like this to look good. You have to be this tall to look good. You have to have this body. And if you do this, you're going to look bad. And we get layers of that from the day we're born. Hell, we're probably getting taught that when we're in the womb. So when you start peeling that off, you get back to your authentic self, which has a genius that we're just not given the tools to get to it. And we're given so many minds in our own mind that they blow up and don't even allow us to get there. Right? People have a greater capacity for creativity. The challenge is, here's the big challenge. I'm saying things in English so you understand what I'm saying. Where I'm coming from is not typically what's discussed in the world. And because of that, the most people will try to do is relate what I'm saying to what they already know. And that becomes a problem because now you're trying to understand what I'm saying through that which you already understand. And you're now putting two things together that don't belong together. It may sound like it. And I'm saying that in our brains, we try to make everything fit what we already know. So partly I'm asking you to suspend what you know about people. So today, tomorrow, next week, next year, you're going to see people, you're going to see them doing things and they'll sabotage themselves to look good or avoid looking bad. You're going to see that. You're going to see yourself do it. It'll be easier to see others than it is to see yourself. But here's the deal. And I want you guys to hear this. You could literally, and hear me, man. This is going to sound crazy. You could walk down the street and transform that block. I mean, if you do that kind of work on yourself, you literally can exude that kind of power and transformation that people who encounter you will want some of what you have. This is why I don't resort to just saying everyone's screwed up and you have to leave, because, you know, everyone can end up having something and then you end up being a hermit. But the most ideal thing to do is to have your environment transform with you. And that transformation will feed you in your own power and your own continuous transformation. Your own personal transformation can literally affect people in your environment. Initially, they may say, hey, man, that looks crazy. But usually there's one person who's going to be like, hey, man, you seem different. They may pull you to the side. But the majority, whether it's your family, your friends, your girlfriend, your wife, most people are going to try and pull you back to who you've always been. Because if you become something, if once you go through transformation, what people are going to get is that they too have to become that. That's their fear, is that once you go through a transformation, they too have to start doing something. They have to start being responsible. And people really want to avoid responsibility. As much as people talk about how they're responsible and they have children and they went to school, most people avoid real responsibility. I mean, you get one body, be responsible for that. Look at the amount of people who are willing to be responsible for their own body. You get one mind, be responsible. How many people intentionally train their mind and body to optimize it? And when you start speaking of transformation, well, I'm saying, guys and ladies, if you're listening, your transformation can be a catalyst for others around you. And you may have to walk away from people to go through your transformation. I mean, that's, they said Jesus went to the desert, Buddha sat under a tree. I mean, people have gone through their transformation and broke away. Like they had their own training camp. For Jesus, it was the desert. That was his mindset camp. Buddha was out in the jungle under a tree. He had a mindset camp. And Muhammad, all these people who fostered and became a catalyst for a new age, a new era, they went somewhere and transformed. If you can do that with other people, it adds more power to the transformation. And Sudata, yeah, I get it when you start learning how to read. I've read a lot of books, and then there are times where I just put all the books aside and I only want to have my own thoughts. I don't care to have thoughts from someone else's words in a book. I just want to have my own creativity. And the punchline, man, is being able to dismantle what you already know and get to nothing, just to zero, to nothing. If you can create from nothing, imagine if you have nothing, you can create anything. Yeah, it's good. It's good to do that, PJ. Kind of reset your own mind. A mental reset. And a mindset camp would help people do a mental reset and give you the tools to do that over and over. But really what you want is you want tools to be able to do this in real time, because in life, you're always going to encounter something, maybe something you've never dealt with before. And if you want to go in the normal same way that you've always gone, like a stimulus response, or if you have the tools to say, oh, whoa, wait, I don't want to go that way. That's the way I always go. I'm going to handle this in a way I haven't before. Because if you go the way you always go, the minds are going to start blowing up and you're going to get upset, or you're going to be sad, or even being happy over things for which there's no reason to be happy. I mean, people get happy over things that don't even make sense. I mean, happiness is one of the easiest things to achieve. And we act like it's this far away thing. It's simple as saying I'm happy over and over. You just can be happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. You just say that and you'll be happy. So it's nothing to accomplish. But peeling off, stripping off what's been given to you like it's dust, so that you can get at the real power that you possess inside, your real genius, your creativity. That's something worth accomplishing. And then point it like a laser so that you're not in a prison of those two things that sabotage: looking good and avoiding looking bad. Those things will kill you. They'll help you survive and look good to people, but they usually don't care much about great accomplishment. And that's really where I'm coming from. How do you accomplish something extraordinary? And it's difficult to be extraordinary if you're more focused on looking good and avoiding looking bad. Even creating a relationship together. You know, I said the punchline is you want to get to nothing. In a relationship, if the two of you can get to nothing and create a relationship from there, you invent it together, you have a much greater chance of having an extraordinary relationship that the two of you created as a team. Right. PJ, I just gave you a magic key to being happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I mean, God, it's like language is so powerful. If you just say, I'm so happy over and over, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And if you say it in a way that's like happy and animated, if that doesn't work, I want to hear it. That, I'm so happy. Like, it's like your whole body will sense that. There's nothing to achieve. People spend their time trying to be happy when it's just that fast. There are other things to do in life. There are countries to see, mountains to climb. There are abilities to express. There are things you can say that can help other people. There are all these things to be done. There are new inventions to make. And you all have them. All of you. Just have a little dust on you. Layers of it. Every year, every day of your life, they're putting more dust. No, just say, I'm so happy, PJ. Don't ask why. Why am I so happy? No, it's it's a declaration. It's not a question. You're not trying to figure out. You're declaring it. I'm declaring this is going to happen. It's not not a question. It's a powerful declaration, and you are 100% responsible for what you're declaring, the words that come out of your mouth. I'm so happy. There's power in that. At least power in terms of happiness, but there's really no accomplishment from that. You can just be happy. Now what? So guys, looking good is a favorite pastime of human beings, something that they put a lot of effort, and they've devised many things. Our society is structured with movies and stories and education, books, all kinds of things that help us better focus on looking good and avoiding looking bad. PJ, I've done it with clients. My suggestion is just have someone do it. Do it with them. Like you and a person who's classified as depressed, if you both, but it's not a permanent thing, right? So just like happiness is a feeling, and feelings are here today and gone tomorrow. When you actually accomplish things, you have a sense of accomplishment, like you have ownership of something, and that can't be taken away. That's not fleeting. So our society has been structured for us to have this clear focus on looking good and avoiding looking bad. Corporate politics, the cat and mouse in a relationship, being a player, having game, wearing clothes to make us look good, smell good. All these things, the right car, the right money, the right house, the right furniture, the name brand clothes, all these things support you see our whole society is structured to look good. And there isn't much space. You have to take that space of authenticity. And most people don't do that. And that's one way to distinguish yourself, to stand out in the world. It doesn't mean you're going around beating people over the head, and you're not going around pointing a finger and saying you're a phony. It has nothing to do with comparison, or whether it's not about making another person wrong for doing the only thing they were taught to do. I mean, if I start speaking in another language, how many of you guys are going to understand it? So understand that you speak and understand English because that's what you have. With a career that's right for you because you say that's right for you. Like, just think of it this way. You can live your whole life wondering if this is the right decision or the wrong decision, or you can make a decision, and any decision you make that the right decision. That's a different way to live your life. Like, I'm standing for this, I'm declaring this future, and these are the actions that it takes, and you do what it takes to make it work. Well, yes, PJ, if people are comparing themselves, no matter how much they accomplish, they're always comparing themselves. And that started as a child. That didn't start as an adult. Something they got, whether it was from their parents or school or even television. But that's one of those mines in the minefield that constantly goes off. And it doesn't even allow them to enjoy what's in front of them because those mines are just blowing up. But understand that you guys are going to be in a presence. You're going to see people looking good. You're going to watch yourself, catch yourself. Because if you just focus on looking good, it can take you down a path that becomes unrecognizable. You hear about people who went down this path and they look good, and then they end up committing suicide or something because they hated their life and where they were. And they don't know where they turned off, where they went wrong. But a mindset camp would be a very, very powerful way. Thank you, Madri. A very powerful way to undo this, unlearn it, and peel off these layers and have access to your own self and find a power that you kind of knew was there. You just didn't know how to get to it. Maybe that's a good thing to call it a mindset camp. You do them as workshops. I mean, if you guys are interested in, I mean, I'm giving you a kind of I'm giving you a layer in the onion. If you guys would be interested in doing a real workshop, a mindset camp, like a Zoom where I use whiteboards and it's interactive and you can talk to me and I can talk to you. It's not just typing, where we can interactively engage one another in conversation in Zoom. I mean, I assume you guys may be in all different locations. But if we did something like that on Zoom, would that be a good idea? Would that interest you guys? Completely interactive, and we're talking, we're engaged. It would be a Zoom mindset camp. And I would impart tools to you. If that's something you guys are interested, let me know. I mean, I wanted to do this live stream today because I really wanted to give you guys a different look at me. You know, even though I can speak about relationships, but I know very much about careers and accomplishment and running businesses and those sorts of things. So wanted to give you guys something, another part of myself that most people don't see outside of the business world. So guys, share this video. If you haven't liked it, let's get some likes in there. You guys see, and I dropped my Cash App and I dropped my PayPal. Your support is always greatly appreciated. And if you like stuff like this, I can deliver more material like this. But I think, as opposed to doing drops here and drops there, if you guys would be interested in a Zoom, doing this in a Zoom, just type Zoom in the in the chat, and we can look at how we can coordinate this. Because if we do it on Zoom, you guys can be anywhere in the world, and we can do this at one time. So always love your support, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have always great comments, and you give me great feedback and interaction. So if you haven't seen me on Patreon, check out. I've got some things in Patreon dealing with some of this stuff also. So check me out on Patreon. If you're not connected with me on Facebook, join me there. I've got a group called Straight Talk. I'll drop you in there where we talk about all kinds of things dealing with relationships. So, hey guys, thanks a whole lot. Just wanted to drop this. My intent is that you all got some value out of this and something that you can take away and implement in your life today. So thanks a lot, guys. Zoom. All right, PJ, thanks for that. Thank you. And I'll be back soon with some more work. So enjoy the rest of the day, guys. Take care. Bye.